Good morning, good evening, almost good night. Thank you all for joining us today. I am Raji Bandanpuri, the PQD from District 101, welcoming you all to our educational events called the Great Event. Today we have with us Mas Mahathir Mohammed, who will be our guest speaker, who has been a Toastmaster since 2016 with a burning passion for communication and public speaking. Since he joined, he has won 9 district contests and became the second runner-up in the World Championship of Speaking in 2022 with his speech titled Two Gifts. If you haven't heard this already, go check it out on Toastmaster International's YouTube page. I did get the opportunity to witness in live, and I can totally see everybody loving that speech and taking that message back home. With his passion and purpose in mind, he co-founded the MicFront Public Speaking Academy in 2017 with his wife, the first kid and adult public speaking franchise in Malaysia. Today, Mahathir is going to share with us some secrets to give a winning international speech contest for our contest season. With that, it is over to you, Mahathir. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Raji, for such a wonderful, wonderful introduction. And a very good morning, everyone. Sorry, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. And as Raji mentioned, right, good almost night, yeah? So thank you so much for tuning in today, despite wherever you are. And it's such an amazing thing to see that all of us here are willing to learn, even though it's about to be bedtime, it's about to just be bright and sunny today. So thank you so much for tuning in. Now, today's session, I'm just going to walk you through some techniques of storytelling that I deploy myself to see how we can turn stories into an impactful one. So I'm not going to do a lot of talking today. In fact, we are going to get a lot of engagement. So you might want to get your papers, your pen, your phones ready so that you can start getting ready to be engaged. All right. So I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to get that ready. 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. So let's start off with this. Hands up so that I can see you on the camera if you agree to the statements that you see. The first statement is, this is my first time competing in the international speech contest. Anyone here first time? Nice. Okay, maybe I'm gonna, oh, we have one. Nice, Brittany, right? Nice. Okay, anyone maybe about 5 times? Anyone 5 times? Oh, nice, Philip. Cool. All right. Anyone way more than that? 5 or more, 6 or more? Anyone? No? Okay, cool. All right, so we're in the 1 to 5 range, which is a good, healthy number as well. Now, the next question I have is this. I know telling stories are important for international speech contests. Anyone agree with this statement? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, absolutely right. And last one, keep your hands up if you agree with the next statement. I am good in telling stories. Hands up. Let me see. Yeah. Oh. I like Philip's honesty. Now, if you have your hands up, thank you so much for your honesty, because I do believe that we can learn from each other as well, even in this short session. Yeah. So thank you so much for your honesty. I know some of you are a little shy. You don't want to raise your hand, but we know that you are good storytellers as well. Okay. So as you can see from these 3 sets of statements, it is funneling down into one thing, and that is storytelling. When it comes to the international speech contest, we see time and time again that stories is the best way to connect with our audiences. And that's why if we are new to the international speech contest, we want to see this contest as a form of a storytelling format. And that's why today we are going to see how we can synthesize superb storytelling. And I'm going to cover with you just 3 things for today. And these 3 things, I believe, will set you on the right path of how to start crafting that story. All right, let's get started. What are the 3 things? Number 1 is absolutely crucial to know where you can find your stories. And I'm going to share with you how to dig in and dig deeper to find that particular story. Number two, once you have your story, it's important to define the purpose of that story so that you won't go astray when you craft your speeches. And number three, I'll share with you 5 powerful storytelling tips so that you can synthesize better stories. So let's start with number 1, finding your story. Now, I'm a believer that each and every one of us have stories. And our stories may be mundane, may be boring, but they are relatable. We may not have those really grand, big stories that is so personal and unique to us. For example, let's say an accident, a life and death situation. Not every one of us has that. But each and every one of us do have relatable stories that has created some form of impact for us. And in this book, Storyworthy by Matthew Dicks, he coined the term as your 5-second moment. Yeah, your 5-second moment. So what is your 5-second moment? Essentially, it is a moment where it only takes 5 seconds for you to experience some form of change in your values, your life, your belief, your character. It's just 5 seconds and something within you just changes. For example, maybe someone helped you when you needed help the most. Maybe someone shared with you a wise word of wisdom that stuck with you till today. Maybe someone, or maybe you helped someone and you realized something about yourself. These are what we call as your 5-second moments, which changes who you are as a person. Every one of us has this. So let's try digging deeper on this. So what I'd like you to do is in 3 to 5 minutes, very short, I want you to think back on one moment, just one. I know we have many, but one moment that changes your values, your life, your beliefs, or even your character. Maybe, for example, you learn to be grateful, you learn to be kinder to other people. Someone said something to you that is so profound that you believe in it, right? What is that 5-second moment? And once you have that, create or find that learning lesson. What do you learn from that? Okay, so once you do this, I want you to make sure that you keep it short. We are not going to write a whole essay for this part because you want it to be condensed enough, short enough for you to just look at it, refer to it so that you know how to tell it better later. So with that out of the way, let's take 3 minutes to 5 minutes just to find that 5-second moment, a moment that changes your life, your beliefs, your character, your values. 1 more minute. Okay, time. Great. I'm sure some of you will be able to discover a story, a moment in just that short period of time. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to type down the stories on the chat. A very short version. It doesn't have to be as long as what you've written. A very short version. What was the story about? When did it take place? What is it about? And maybe what is that learning lesson? So let's see. Can you type down in the chat so we can share our stories together? Nice. Building trust takes a lifetime, but breaking it takes a moment. Brilliant. Boundaries matter. They help define who we are and what we stand for. Nice, Julie. Story of a family, how parents age and children are independent. The moment is we are not young anymore. Nice. I love that. I love the detail that you shared there. Philip, my high school baseball coach was sizing up the team prospects, and after asking my peers what kind of baseball player I was, not a good one, he asked me not to come out for the team. Whoa. Interesting. Wow. I can already see how it unfolds in my mind. Very well done. The president of our club was transferred out of the state and no one was willing to take over his position. That mentor met several of us and said to me, it only takes one person to make a difference. You can be that person. Nice. Beautiful. 2012, I found my ex was cheating on me. Ooh. Yeah, and while I was working out of town, let's learn, nothing is for sure. Smash your sorrow. Oh yes. And move on as a horse has already bolted. Oh, wonderful. Put yourself in other people's shoes. Don't simply judge another person's actions. Wow. Well, that's amazing. We have amazing stories over here. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. So right now, you have your 5-second moment. We have this raw information, raw stories. So what we have to do now is to condense it down into content that is clear and impactful for your audience. So in order to turn this raw information into something impactful, the next step we need to do is define your purpose. We need to define what is this speech about. And there's also 3 things to cover here. Number 1, it's very clear. Who is your audience? Is your audience people in the, let's say, young kids, right? Teenagers, maybe working adults, Toastmasters members? Who are they? Where are they from? Local, international? Because this is very important. When you craft your speeches based on who your audience members are, then it's easier for you to connect with them. So for me, when my early stages of my contest, I try my best to keep some things localized so that the people in my local community in Toastmasters, they could connect with me. If I were to use a more universal one, maybe something more applicable in the States, right? Maybe people in Malaysia may not be able to connect very well. So understanding who your audience members are in that particular contest round is absolutely crucial. Number two, what is topic about? This is where you can share with us what is your speech or story message. For example, my speech or my story is about being grateful, or like some of us says, right? My speech or my story is about how to give the power of sincere compliments, or how to give sincere compliments to others. So once you define that one message in that one line, the next one is the most important one, which is your objective. And if you notice, right, I put a sentence there and an underline afterwards. And the reason why is because when we read out the entire statement and fill in that underline, we see our speech in a different form of view, right? So right now in the objective statement, it says, by the end of my speech, I want my audience to do what? To start giving positive compliments, sincere compliments to the people around them. I want my audience to start being kinder with the people around them. I want my audience to give more and take less. So you have to come up with a clear objective statement here. And once you have that clear A, T, O, audience, topic, objective, it is very difficult to stray away from writing your speeches, right? Because sometimes when we craft our speeches, we tend to feel that, oh, this story works, that story works, I'm going to add this in. And then by the end of it, it's going to be a huge story that we may not be able to relate to most of them. So this will help streamline that process. Okay, all clear so far? Cool. All right. So now we're done with part one. We're done with part two. So how do we now put part three, which is to use some storytelling tools or tips to synthesize better stories? I have 5 tips here I'd like to share with you. And I believe that if you can use some of them, not all of them, but some of them, you will see a change in the way your story unfolds. Now, just to have a quick check with you, you guys can see my screen, right? Right now, because just now I realized that it was only showing the introduction slide.
Yes,
Right?
can see.
Okay, great. So right now it says storytelling tips. Yeah, cool. All right, so let's get started with this. Now, I categorize them as STORY, so it's easier for us to remember how to input these story tips into your stories. So what does S stand for? S stands for scenery. When we tell stories, we need to share with the audience some form of scenery so that we can imagine what is happening in that point of time. So small details such as adding the timeline, adding the location, adding some character details can really help the audience to picture something clearer. However, be careful when using scenery because too detailed and it's very hard for the audience to connect with you because they're trying their best to try to fit in your description. So give enough information, but not too much information. So here is what I'd like you to try. Take a look at this. I'd like you to share with me a holiday experience in under 20 seconds. It could be your New Year's celebration. Where do you do what happened, etc. Yeah, or it could be your latest Christmas experience. So share with me in under 20 seconds. Let me get perhaps. Okay, I'm gonna get Alita to try this out. All the way from Pennsylvania.
What is that about me?
Yeah.
Let's
So
a 20-second holiday experience. My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, and the reason is because of all the excellent, wonderful food. And everybody, I like to cook. the Thanksgiving meal. And I do a traditional American Thanksgiving dinner. And every once in a while, I'll throw in something new. But what I like particularly is that for that one day, everybody focuses on their gratitude. More so, I believe that gratitude is the secret to a peaceful life, recognizing your blessings. I'm sure I've been over 20 seconds, but that's because I was thinking of that yummy food.
Oh, thank you so much, Alida, for sharing that. Wow. I love the details that you went through. For example, sharing with us the food, that you love cooking and preparing the dishes. And one other thing that you did, which is a step up, is you shared with us the learning lesson or the message that you want to convey, which is about gratitude, because people in Thanksgiving focus on gratitude. I love that. Now, if we look at Alita's story, she did share with us some form of scenery, the food, right? People gathering around, that she loves cooking. So there were some scenery. Now, here's one thing that she can perhaps add on to the story so that you can immediately set the scene. So great storytellers, including Matthew Dix in his book, we always try to set the scene as early as possible. For example, you could say something like this. It's 2023, Thanksgiving Day. I'm in the kitchen preparing the food because I love cooking. And right? So you start setting the timeline, where it's taking place, what's happening, etc. So that way people can start imagining, oh, this, then they add on some scenic images in their minds, and then the details. Yeah. So I could see my family and friends walking in through the doors, smiles on their face, things like that. Yeah. So thank you so much, Alida. Now, if we were to say, for example, a New Year celebration, some people might just say things like this. They might say, well, last New Year's, I celebrated with my friends and we watched some fireworks. Okay, great. Some scenic view over there. But how do we take it up a notch? For example, we could do something like this. It was the last day of 2023. I'm standing in one of the tallest buildings in Kuala Lumpur, watching the fireworks as it unfolds. My friends next to me, they were all happy. They were all grateful because we knew that 2023 was the best year of our lives. Something like that. Yeah, we set some details here. Okay, so when you tell a story, remember, start by sharing with us the scene first, then go down into the details later. Yeah, great. So we have that. So now we know how to set the scene. The second thing we need to do is try our best to add some form of twist to your stories. Yeah, I know it's not easy. It's really not easy to add some twists, but it is absolutely crucial. Great stories always keeps us on the edge of our seat, wanting to know what happens next. Or sometimes we also want to have our expectations changed, derail our expectations. We want to have that moment, because if it's too predictable, then the audience will say, yeah, you know what? I already know where this is going to go. One simple strategy that you can deploy to immediately add twists is do not put your speech title as the message of your story. For example, can you imagine if I go out on stage and I give a presentation and my title is Be Grateful, all right? And I think all of you will be like, oh man, Mahathir's going to talk about be grateful. Either he's going to be grateful or someone's going to be grateful. I don't care. So we kind of know where it goes. So the first strategy is don't make your message the same with your title. Make it interesting, twist it up a little bit. The second is to practice knowing how to derail your audience. So let me challenge you, all of you, to this activity right now. Here is a simple statement. It's a set of three, which is A, B, and C, right? A is, I need to change myself, so my hairstyle changed. B, my clothes changed. And C, what else changed? All right, so let me read this out again. I needed to change myself. My hairstyle changed, my clothes changed, and my What changed? Now think outside of the box. Derail us. If you see, there's a common theme between the A and B, right? It's all about appearance. So C should have something different, not relating to your appearance. So if you have an answer, type it in the chat and let's see how it fits. I needed to change myself. So my hairstyle changed, my clothes changed, and my gender changed. Not bad. And my attitude changed. Whoa, cool. What else? Share with me some crazy ideas. Yeah. My hairstyle changed, my clothes changed, attitude changed. Yeah. What else? My goals changed. Yes. I move away. My boyfriend changed. Yeah, exactly. Right? Nice. My opinions changed. My car changed. How people treated me changed. Nice. Very good. My wife left me. Oh, you guys are excellent humor masters here. Now, when I use this, right, I was sharing this particular speech in one of my early days in my contest rounds. And I said, my hairstyle changed, my clothes changed. And I said, and my girlfriends always change. And when that happens, people start laughing because it is out of the norm. You're twisting them to a different direction. Some people might also say this: while I was studying, I needed to change myself. So my hairstyle changed, my clothes changed, and my exam grades also changed, So you can always add this twist so that it's out of the norm. Yeah. Again, not that easy to do, but if you can, brilliant. Okay. So the power of twists. Next one. O, which means open with the action. Now, typical hero's arc or hero's journey, we always start off with what we call as a character setting, which means we set the scene. Once upon a time, there was this princess who lived in a big, tall castle, and then a prince was supposed to save her, yada, yada, yada. But in today's age and today's time, starting that way may automatically tune off your audience's mind. Why? Because it's predictable, it's boring. Character setting is not the best part of your story. So one of the best part of your stories is actually the conflict, the action. So that's why when you see a lot of action movies, they start off with guns and blazing, shooting here and there, spies jumping off the roof, something's happening, right? So that way we are hooked. So let's try this activity out. With a simple thing as rowing down a river, how do you now start this statement with an action? Start it with an action. And I'd like you to type it on the chat as well. What can you say? Instead of saying, I'm rowing down a gentle stream, I'm rowing down a river. Start with an action. What's happening? Where's the guns and blazing going on? Oh, okay, yeah. Not bad, Li Xian, starting with splash. Then what happened, right? What else? I see a crocodile climb down on my oar. Nice. I was gasping for my last breath. Not bad. I climbed to the cloud. Ooh, okay. I hear the roar of the waterfall. Not bad, not bad. It was freezing and the ice was forming on the river. Nice. Okay. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Give me more action. Something that will really get the audience to lean forward and want to listen to more. I see my favorite fish swimming. It was a shark. Okay, what else? What other techniques can you say? The tide changed. Drop in the water. Not bad. Swimming with all my might. Not bad. A monkey dropped out of the tree on my head. She had an element of twist there. I did not see that coming. Splashes of water covered me. The oar slipping off my hands. Not bad. Ooh, whoa. That one's pretty dark. I see a body floating nearby. My oar fell out of my hand. Okay, good. Now, here's one technique that we can try. Perhaps you could say something like this. The boring way is, I roll down a gentle stream, looking at all the beautiful trees around me. Okay, but how about this? It's 2022. I'm on a boat ride with my friends, but in about 10 seconds, I know something is going to go terribly wrong. Because right in front of us is a 20 feet waterfall, and we're not prepared. Then you pause right there. Then your audience will start to lean in. What happened? Did he fall off the boat? Did he hit the waterfall and crashed? what happened. Okay, so always have that form of action at the start of your story to keep the audience engaged. Now, one other technique here, just to add on to this, is don't reveal what happened next too early. So that means you just share with us. You just share with us that expectation and that anticipation, but don't share with us what happened. I end up crashing in a waterfall. Boom. People don't really like that, right? So you leave it hanging there, and then you tell the story. And then only at the end of the story, maybe you can reveal that part again. All right. So because if you tell the story straight away, people already lose interest. So leave it hanging. Okay, moving on to the next one. R. R here stands for reel. You want to reel your audiences in by asking rhetorical questions to get them to think, to ponder, to relate, to reflect. So if you notice a lot of international speech speakers, they tend to ask a lot of rhetorical questions, right? You notice halfway as they tell the story, then they ask a question. And they do this purposefully because they want you to connect with them. They want you to relate to them. So how can we create a rhetorical question based on this statement here? I regretted what I said to mom that day. What kind of question, a rhetorical question, can we add on after this line? What do you think? I regretted what I said to mom that day. Nice, good. Have you ever regretted something you said? And then you add a pause there, right? A dramatic pause. Not bad. Anyone else has another idea? Oh, I regretted what I said to mom that day. Want to know why? Whoa, not bad. Oh, have you ever lost control and said something you didn't really mean? Nice. Why do I always have to have mom and regret in the same time? Whoa, Philip, that's amazing. Wow. What did you do when that happens to you? Wow, great. So remember, when you have these moments in your story, sometimes adding that reel gets your audience to ponder, to reflect a moment in their life in that particular situation. All right? Cool. I love these questions. Thank you so much for participating. Okay, let's move on to the final one. Why? Which stands for your conversations. Your conversations could mean your conversations with yourself, your conversations with someone else, your conversations with God, doesn't matter who. Any form of dialogues, internal thought processes. You want to switch your speech from narration to experiential. You want your audience to almost kind of like be there with you, observing the scene as it unfolds. So don't just tell us what happens, help us experience it. Here's what you can try. And this is going to be a bit tricky, but I love to see. And this one, I'm going to get maybe a few volunteers. Jane asked me if I was married and I rejected her. This is a narration. I'm just telling it as it is. So how can I now add some form of internal conversations, dialogues into this so that I make this even more engaging? Let's see. Perhaps I'm going to get Philip. Philip, what do you think? How do I turn this into by adding in some conversations?
Well, first, I have to make sure my wife is out of the room. I'm a little bit stumped. I don't mind telling you. Jane asked me if I was married. I considered the source and I rejected her. I don't know. I must not think about these thoughts often enough.
Nice. Well done, Philip. Not bad. All right, let's try. Brittany. Go for it, Brittany.
Okay, well, Philip, I'm gonna kind of pretend I'm you for a bit because you obviously love your wife so much. So I would say Jane asked me if I was married. I had was left speechless. I am so enamored with my wife. I don't even think about another partner whatsoever. So I quickly and easily rejected her.
Okay, not bad. We're getting somewhere. Well done. Now, one other thing is, if you have an opportunity to add some form of conversation, maybe you saying something to Jane or you telling yourself something in your mind, share it out, right? So that it'll be so engaging for the audience. So let's try this. Perhaps I can get Sarah to try this out. Yeah, Sarah Ivy.
I have to unmute there. Oh, I'm thinking, you could do internal dialogue even. Oh no, here comes Jane again. I know she's going to ask me if I want to marry her, and I'm so sick of this. Oh no, she's almost here. Oh, I don't know if I can dodge, get away from her. So it could be approached that way too, as
Yeah,
opposed to with her. It could be all internal.
That's right. Well done. I love that. I love that. So it's like before even Jane approaching me, you already have that internal dialogue, right?
Right. Yeah,
Brilliant.
how am I going to get through this? How do I handle these questions and not have it go deeper than I want it to? And,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, now let me get one last person, and I'm going to challenge now. So I want to challenge this last person to have the dialogue and conversation with Jane. All right. So can I get Nadine? Yeah. You're going to have a conversation with Jane in this particular scenario.
Conversation with Jane. Dear Jane, what did I do to you ask me that question? Did I not punch you in your face yesterday? Did not yell at you? Did I not, ask you to walk on your knees to go get me a beer? And you want to marry me? So sorry, but you were not fast enough for the beer. So I reject you.
Well done. Thank you so much, Nadine. Nice. Now, see, Li Ping also has an answer here. Jane asked me if I was married. What does it mean? She's going to ask me out? Yes, it sounded. Jane replied right away, oh no, I don't want to go out with her. So I rejected her family. Not bad, not bad. Yeah. Another way you could try is like this. I was sitting in the pub with Jane after work. And out of the blue, she asked me the weirdest question. Mahathir, are you married? I was thinking to myself, what? We're colleagues. We're out here after work and you're asking me this? Jane, I have a wife. Something like that, right? You add that conversation between two people, what's happening in your mind. That way, it makes it so nice and so clear that we're almost watching a drama unfold. All right? Well done, everyone. So let's do a bit of a recap here. What does S stand for again? Do you remember it? Aha, nice scenery, very good. And T is twist, correct? O, open with the action. R, add some reels by reeling in the audience through rhetorical questions. And of course, have those conversations, dialogues, etc. So let's put everything that we've learned so far in a recap. What is the moment that we experience change in our value, life, beliefs, or character? What is it called? A what second moment? Yeah, Sandra, thank you for using body language. 5-second moment, yeah? Next one. When we talk about speech purpose, there are 3 things that we need to be clear of. The ATO. What does the ATO stand for? Let me get... Oh, nice. Brittany, you got it. Audience, yes. What else? What does the T stand for? Objective and the T?
I forget the T.
Anyone can SOS, helper. What does the T stand for? Make sure you have your audience, you have your...
Topic.
Thank you. That's right. Your topic and finally your objective, right? And of course, STORY, as we covered just now, scenery, twist, open with the action, real, and your story. So start off by having that 5-second moment, condense that information into the purpose, and finally add some storytelling tips to spice up your story. Now, before I end today's workshop and session, I'd like to share with you this. Whether you are contesting or whether you're not contesting, I urge you to still share your stories. Why? Because someone somewhere out there is yearning to listen to the message that you have. And that message that you have could potentially change their lives. So continue sharing your story despite whether you're contesting or not. So with that, thank you so much. I hand it over to Raji. Thank you for the honor.
Thank you so much, Mahathir. A round of applause for leading us through so many tips, so many ideas. We now open up the floor for any questions, anything specifically you would want Mahathir to comment on, or anything. It's time for you, audience, to go ahead and get your questions answered. Go ahead, Arnie.
Thank you, Raji. Hi, Mr. Mahathir. A question in three parts. The title of your speech, Two Gifts, how was that compelling title enough to get an audience or to convince people? Number one. Number two, gestures. Were they instinctive? Were they deliberate, cultural, or universal? And three, how many lines of dialogue do you need to advance a story?
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for the questions, Arnie. Perhaps I'll go one by one first. So the first question was my final speech, right? Which is two gifts. And how does that create some form of curiosity to the audience? That's a very good question. So the reason I put two gifts is because people might be thinking, what are the two gifts? Because they might be thinking to themselves, is it something very philosophical, or is it something really actual presents or gifts, right? So they have that confusion in their minds. But what actually made it even more compelling was the first few phrases in my speech where I talk about my parents. Yeah. And my parents do have two things that they have. That is caring and loving. Mom is rough and tough. So people then start to think, are those the two gifts? So as they continue unfolding the story, they realize it's actually a listening ear and an understanding heart. So that way it changes the audience's perspective of, oh, I know he's going to talk about you need to listen more and you need to understand more. Yeah, so I changed it into two gifts. Okay, so I hope that answers your first question. The second question you asked was body language, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So how do we have a better body language? Is that correct?
Yeah, without the gestures, I don't think your speech was really compelling or something that really matters so much. Appropriate gestures, perfect gestures. How did you get those gestures?
How do you do appropriate gestures? Another excellent question. So gestures is something that, number one, we need to, especially for a speech contest, we need to trial and error, and we need to record ourselves so that we can see if those gestures actually make sense. Personally, for me, after every session, whether I'm doing a contest or rehearsal, I watch the clip and I ask myself, wait, why am I doing this? Why am I looking here too many times, right? Even after the final speech, I watch back my video and I'm like, Mahathir, why are you doing this? This is not like that. You're not supposed to do this, right? So you analyze that. And every time you analyze, you get better at delivering your body language. But essentially, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your body language are purposeful. Yeah, your body language is purposeful. So if I were to say mom is here, mom is going to always be here. If I'm going to say dad, that's always going to be here. I cannot switch them up at any time. If I say I'm going to my room, I can't go and say room here one time, room there one time. So it becomes very confusing for your audience. So to make it appropriate, you do need to, first of all, set where things are in place, record yourself, and then see how you can better enhance it or improve it. Okay. All right. Arnie, your third question, if you don't mind, what was it?
Yeah, my third one is your dialogue, lines of dialogue. How many lines of dialogue do you need to advance the story?
Okay, very good. You don't need a lot of dialogue. To be honest, when I'm crafting my speeches, number one, my dialogues are not very long. It needs to be short, punchy, and understandable, quick. Because if you have a long dialogue, number one, it takes away the audience's how do I say, engagement factor, because you're just telling it as someone else, right? You're just having that dialogue. People want to know the story, not so much of the dialogue. So long dialogues doesn't work. It needs to be short, easy to understand so that people kind of get the message across. Okay. Now, in terms of the frequency of dialogues, of course, whenever you have some form of characters in your story, maybe each character that is important to the story has a short dialogue with you. Yeah. When I was doing this with my coach, initially I did have really long dialogues, really long dialogues. One person could almost say almost 3 lines of dialogues. And the moment he saw that, he's like, Mahathir, no, don't do that, right? All right, because again, it really just defeats the purpose of what's happening in the story. You just tell us what it is, keep it short, keep it understandable. You don't need to share too many information. All right. So yeah, number 1, keep it short. Yeah. And number 2, only important characters where they have certain messages you want to share. Sure, have dialogues, but not too many. All right. Thank you so much for your question.
Sir. Thank you very much. Selamat datang.
Yeah, thank
Raji.
you.
Speak Malaysian.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Arnie,
Thank you,
for your
Raji.
question. Next question. Sarah, did you have a question? I see you're unmuted. Okay, maybe let me ask Mahathir this question. Did you keep your speech the same one from the club, the area, the division, semifinals? Was it the same speech, or did you write up like a completely new topic?
Okay. When it comes to creating the speech for the international speech contest, the first thing for me is, yes, I would keep my speech the same from club all the way to the highest level that I can go with that particular speech. However, although the topic, the theme is the same, the structure, the impact is different, which means that I will not use my speech the same way I delivered it in club all the way to the semifinals. It will never be the same. If I look back from my semi level to my club level, the speech has a huge transformation, and it should be, because just like wine, it ages with time, right? So does your speech. It ages with time. So every time you go back to your speech, you re-edit it, you rewrite it. That's where the magic actually happens. You get tighter messages, more compact structure, you know? So it's the same, but the impact is different. Yeah. So I'll give you another example. For my 2022 semifinal speech, I've actually created that speech 2 years in advance in the semifinal. Wow. Yeah. So the first draft of it was really bad. It was really bad. Yeah. So when it came to 2022, when I was competing with that speech for the first time, it has evolved. And by the end of the contest season, I believe I have version 85 of that speech. Yeah, version 85.
Wow.
Yeah, the 2-gift speech for the finals was version 137. So it will need to evolve, but as it evolves, it gets better. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I didn't imagine that was about to be my next question. How many times did you practice this speech? But I think that number probably will be off the charts because I'm dumbfounded with the number of drafts you had for the speech itself. But hopefully that inspires our audience to get it started, start working on their version number 1 before the club contest starts.
Yes.
So that
yes.
they can kickstart. Yefe, did you have a question?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mahathir.
Yes.
So as your version changes, do you change the title of your speech?
Good question as well. I change it if there is a significant surgery, I call it, yeah, in my speech. What do I mean by surgery? Okay, sometimes you create your speech, you have minor surgeries, yeah? Minor surgeries means I'm going to snip some words here, I'm going to cut some fats out of this speech, I'm going to probably just trim to lesser syllables, or maybe just tiny tweaks here and there, and that will be a new draft. But when there's total or what I call as a big major surgery takes place, then yes, there's a potential need to change the speech title because it may not fit in with the overall theme or the message that I want to go for. An example would be my final speech, which is two gifts. The initial round of the speech was called two things. Yeah, two things rather than two gifts. So after working with my coach and my mentor, I realized that things is not as impactful as the word gifts. So tweaking it that way and reworking the structure by cutting out a lot of part of the story and all that, that two gifts makes more sense to be used for the finals as a title of the speech. So yes, your title can change. And of course, it should always change whenever you feel that it is more in line with what you want to share. So change it based on that rather than changing it based on just, I just want to make it more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Nadine, you had a question?
Yes, I have a question. Did you always use a coach for the first time you did the competition, or that arrived with time that you figured out that you need a coach, you need a mentor?
Great question.
And what did you learn, actually?
Great question. So in the initial rounds of my contest, I started competing in the international speech in 2017. That's my very first time. And I remember losing in the area level. I won third place. I was so disappointed. So because number one, ego got in the way, right? The reason why I have ego is because in my club, I'm competing against three important people in my life: my mom, my dad, my sister. Yeah. So I want to prove them wrong. Yeah, I want to prove them wrong. So I knew that I'm going to be the best one. So when I lost, it really hurt my ego, but it also helped me to see the need for improvement, the need that in this journey, I can't do it alone. I need someone to guide me and help me. So that's where in 2017, I found my mentor first, which he helped me a lot with my speeches. And because of his help, I managed to break into the division level. But I knew that I wanted to take a step further. So in 2020, the first time I've ever reached the semifinal, I engaged a coach. Yeah, I engaged a coach. And the learning is really, really crazy, right? Because they have walked the path. They know what kind of mistakes that you would make in a speech contest. So by doing that, I minimize all the trial and errors needed to get there. Yeah. So up to today, I think I have engaged 5 different world champions as coaches to help me with my speeches. And yes, it does work. It does help. But here's the caveat. If, let's just say, you have a speech that is not so good, right? And let's call it like a really really early draft of that speech, right? And you bring this to the coach, 2 things will happen. Number 1, the coach may reject your speech and reject you as a coachee. Number 2, the coach will say, you know what? I'm just going to help you anyways. So they'll take this speech, this draft of yours, and they'll do their best to make this draft a better version of that draft, but may not be the best speech to win a contest. They may add in the techniques and all that, but it may not win. In another analogy, it's like this. Let's say you bring a pile of poop. So the coach will just kind of like spray golden paint on it and it looks like a golden poop. So when you give that speech, it may not be the best to win. You get what I mean, right? So yeah, when you want to engage a coach, remember that you need to already go through that speech to the point where you realize, I'm stuck. I really don't know where I'm going to go. I really don't know how to take this speech to the next level. Then you engage a coach. Then your learning will be exponential from there. I hope that answers your question, Nadine.
I think surely does. So Mahathir, will you coach people from District 101 if they put in their efforts?
Oh, I don't mind. The only challenge is I'm competing this year.
Oh. But then you revealed all your secrets. I have a maybe a quick question and you can comment on it. We usually talk about the hero's journey being a very integral part about most of our winners formula as well. What do you think? Is that probably the best baseline to get started whenever we think of international speech or competing, or other things could work too? What would you comment?
the hero's journey is a technique or a formula that works. And it works because it has a change in characters, which means you as a person has changed. And when you have changed, you inspire the audience that they can change. I was competing in 2022 where one of the district finalists was using a speech and she was going against the hero's journey. She was saying things like, I don't need a hero's journey. At the end, I still didn't make it, but well, I learned that there's no hero's journey, right? So when she did that, the audience didn't resonate with her because there was nothing to look forward to. There was nothing to see, or there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So a hero's journey's formula actually helps the audience to feel inspired that this could be you. So that's why it works. But how we play with the hero's journey, that can be changed. For example, people always start off, I have this 5C in the hero's journey. We start off with the character setting, leading up to the conflict. Conflict leads to the climax. Climax leads to the consolidation and the change in character. And you end up with the conclusion. So the 5C's there. So most of the time, people follow this in a nice kind of graph, right? They just follow it like a bell curve. But it is not necessarily the one way that you can do it. So what you can try is switching the roles around. Instead of starting with the character setting, how about I start with the conflict first? I start with the conflict, then I bring down to the character setting, then I go to the climax, then I go to the change. You can play around with some of the things. So it's just to test and see how your story goes. So it's not just one way, you can try many ways. But yes, the hero's journey still works because change inspires.
Yeah, well, rightly said. Yes, change definitely inspires, and especially coming from anybody that you relate to, it immediately is more inspirational, saying, oh, it is probably doable. If this
Yes,
person changed, I can change too. So it is
yes.
going to be a very exciting contest season. If you're planning to compete, I look forward to being there. Thank you very, very much for making us all smile and giving us so much guidance. I think
Thank
all our
you.
members who attended today and the ones who will view the recording will really, really appreciate this. So thank you so very much for taking time out and being here. And thank you to all our members for making it and actively participating and engaging with all the exercises. I hope you had a lot of takeaways to work on your international speech to make your club speeches also get better and more inspirational. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out on a Monday evening here in California, on a morning in the other parts of the world, or almost night in few other parts. We had a lot of international audience today. So thank you so very much for making it to the session.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you very, very much. And
Thank you,
Mr. Mahathir,
everyone.
please come back.